we'll bang it out. But what were your thoughts, kind of playing against, like being down, like playing against it? What was your thoughts? What did you find like the problems against
Hmm.
it? What did you find like for yourselves when you're playing against it? What did you notice? Or
That I should not play Brig against this.
okay, that's a definite.
Yeah.
Because I couldn't do shit.
Yeah, like when they're running,
Um,
Brig can only has so much peel anyway.
yeah.
There's only so much a Brig can do. She's grand in double bubble, she can just knock back the monkey or whatever, and it's like, okay, there's a trek on. But when there's a Farah in play, a lot of time Brig's prone useless because she just gets spammed and she's fucking shit. But then when there's a ball and a tracer and a diva coming on as well, like there's nothing you can do against that. What else?
I think Pharah is pretty strong right now because most hit skins are garbage.
Yeah,
So
Farah's
I
strong.
think the best way to counter Pharah right now is with either your own Pharah, because then the enemy Pharah has to decide to either take the duel or let you do your work as Pharah,
Yeah,
or to ignore you and you can still do your work.
yeah,
So I think it then comes down to who gets the better opening pick as Pharah or not. So pretty one-sided, but yeah.
yeah. Um, yeah. So there was a lot of things obviously went wrong. First of all, against this comp, double bubble is ass.
Yeah.
Zarya, Brig, ass against this comp.
Mhm.
It's useless. Zarya gets zero value. Like there's the minute, especially if the team like this is consistently running. And I think the two comps we might focus. I think on three comps. Now these three comps that you'll play will be you'll change the part bits of those comps depending. So say you might if you're running this comp, you might switch out the Brig for a Mercy and the Zarya for a Diva, that type of thing. Or if you're running Brawl, you
Mhm.
might switch out someone. You could switch the Diva to a Sig, or you could switch certain heroes just to kind of depending on what the other team's running. But and if you're running Rush, you might switch out whatever something for something else. But there are kind of three comps that we'll focus on or do a bit on. Not to be honest, I couldn't be arsed going through double shield. I don't think anybody enjoys playing the comp. Um,
I do.
Mm.
like I as a single player, I don't mind it, but I think um, if you're going to improve, I think playing a stationary comp isn't the way to go about it starting off.
Mhm.
Um, Now, just starting out, so basically the overall when they run this comp, um, what they're going to be looking at. So, say for instance, in a wider range things, brawl, um, you got caught, and I'll just show you before the map ends. Your oasis. When they ran the brawl, your brawl is kind of like a big ball, and you're like a pack, say, a pack of whatever. Um, what they're trying to do with you is they're trying to catch someone splitting off for a bit outside it, and they'll punish it. And that's kind of what happened to you when you played brawl against this. You can't afford to split up, and people do because they try to fight the fire, or they'll try to do something against your comp. They'll do the same. The fire will spam the Ana or the Brig. Um, Tracer and Ball will follow up on it, and so will Diva. That's why it's just really shit to play against because there's nothing you can do. And Winston and Echo can only do so much. Like they'll try dive the Ana, but like even if they got the Ana, the rest of your team's dead. Like just not much to do. And without a Mercy, it's very hard for an Echo to challenge the Pharah,
Mm.
especially when they have a diva, because she'll either peel for the far or she'll pressure the echo herself as well. Um, so you'll just see at the start of this how it plays out.
Mhm.
Theo taking high ground. It's all right once it gets in position. Okay, so immediately against this comp, the far practically has you pinned down. Okay, the ball is just swinging around and he's doing nothing. Diva's sitting with Diana for the minute. Um, and Tracer's taking the jewel. I don't mind Tracer taking the jewel. That's all right if she's confident. If Tracer is confident that she'll win the duel, that's 100%. But their Tracer is going to be out of fight with this duel. It's very hard to expect Raptor to take the duel with the Pharaoh when he's on his own as Echo. It's so hard, especially when Pharaoh is pocketed like so. And then the rest of your pin in this room, there's nothing you can do about it because Ball is going to swing up now in a minute and slam you when
Mhm.
you try peek. And the Pharaoh spam alone is just going to stop your Ana from doing anything on your break. Now it's unfortunate you didn't get the Annie here. We're going to ignore what's going on here. We know what the problem is here. If you are going to run a dive, it's super important that Tracer and Monkey or someone is diving with the Monkey at all times. I know Tracer's taking the duel. That's 100%. Monkey needs to realize that though, because Monkey's not going to kill an Anna on her own when there's a diva in play or someone. He'll get antied, he could get slept, but there's no follow up. And even if he did get on her, it'll take a while to even again to play, and he's putting himself in a bad position. So make sure someone is always going to be in position to take to dive with him. Like it's going to take too long for him to kill him if to kill Yana if he does, and the rest of your team's going to die at that stage. Um, if you're running this comp, and we'll talk actually about countering it. If you see this comp, if it's about to run in, switch up straight away. Um, after the first fight. Don't try run it again. So if I'm me, what I'm thinking is right. They're hard running this comp. We have an Echo and field that's good. Switch the Brig up to a Mercy, pocket your Echo. Okay, you can now you'll take the fire comfortably in a fight, and if so, you'll switch to Diva. You'll switch to Zarya with the Diva as well, because Zarya is prone fucking useless against what they're running. Like the Zarya has to switch. So you have two people who have to switch. Okay, and you know this now coming into the next game. If you come up against this team again, Zarya, Brig need to switch.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're going with the Mercy, you're pocketing your Echo, or if you're running the Pharah, you're pocketing the Pharah. You've got a Tracer in play, which is grand. You can also run the Sombra. The reason being, Sombra literally just hacks Steve or ball. A lot of time, if you hack the ball, a lot of their engagements are cut out then. So for instance, like you'll see their ball set up a slam, they followed in with a diva. When the ball's hacked, he's out of the fight. And even Sombra alone, we talked about this the last day. Not only is Sombra good for hacking the ball, hacking all these people, but she also takes health packs from them. And the players like Ball and Tracer, they rely a lot on health packs. So by taking the health packs out of fight, you're kind of crippling them a bit as well, just by doing that. Because Ball can't roll to a mega, get health, and come back into the fight. Anna has to heal him up, or Mercy has to heal him up. So these are all like nice little picks that you can go against when you're running it. So say for instance, you're running. So now we're running we have the Mercy change here. You're gone. We have the Diva change here.
Yeah.
So now we're a more offensive dive. Okay, now it's up to Meep to play smart. Meep can't show himself too early. He has to let you get in position. You can't be taking huge amounts of poke damage either, because Meep isn't going to have all line of sight on you the whole time, especially on maps like this, because he's going to take the high ground or he's going to do whatever. So make sure you get into position for your dive and then you dive whatever. Or if you're running the Sombra, you hack your Diva or you hack your ball and dive those, punish those. And this is what I kind of want you to start doing now, especially if you get to see this or whatever. When you're on the Diva and you're running the Echo, make sure you coordinate every time you're challenging the Pharah.
Yeah.
So if you're challenging Pharah on Echo, make sure you calm that, because every time Diva should be following you. Okay, should be following you and should be coordinating that dive on the Pharah. So when you pressure the Pharah, Diva follows up with you to get up close to her face with the micro missiles. It's an easy kill when you coordinate and get good at coordinating it. So that's something that you should be looking at in Diva. Here's if you get to see this. And then G can coordinate dives with the other DPS if you're doing that, or if Pharah's down, then you all coordinate dives together. And it's going to be up to yourselves to pick your person who's common. A lot of time, it's harder for G to be target calling in this kind of comp, because he's going to need someone to be in position. So the likes of Sombra is a really nice target caller. Tracer can be a nice target caller, because whoever she's on, if she's diving someone, then Winston knows to dive that person as well. Echo can be a nice one, but there's kind of a lot going on that you're trying to focus on. You're trying to focus on this fire jewel a lot of the time. So you're just kind of common between you and Diva. So it's up to yourselves to and once you pick out, and we'll go through. I have to still go through your comms, and probably in the next scrim. I'm not too worried about it in this scrim. The next scrim I'm going to go through it. So when it's because this one kind of seemed to be a bit of a clusterfuck on what comms you're running. There was a lot of confusion going on, and don't worry if I know a few people might have been upset or kind of frustrated after that, but this is a frustrating fucking comp to play against. There's so much shit going on. You're being spammed by a fucking while a ball's slamming you and a tracer's up your hole. So it is a frustrating comp. especially now that teams are starting to run it a bit more. You'll start to come across it more.
Would you recommend us to run it as well?
To be honest, I'm not. I don't really. Not at the minute. I'll say so. At the minute, we're going to focus on three
Sure.
comps. Okay, we're going to focus on brawl. We have a brawl. We're going to focus on double bubble. Now, I'll just go DB for that.
Sure.
Okay. And now these comps aren't like, it's not just like, say we say brawl. Say your common brawl is your Ryan, Diva, Kree, May, Lucio, Bap. There's brawl, but that comp might change. Like it's hero, there might be a different hero in there, but that's all different adaptations that you'll make depending on the maps, depending on what comps they run, so on, so on. The same with double bubble. You're running double bubble now, but what changes about the double bubble comp now that you know they're running that comp? What changes are you making?
Mercy Diva.
Mercy Diva. They're the changes you're making. Okay, so they're still, and that's the double bubble comp, but there's just two changes you're making, and then we'll do the rush. Okay, we'll do the rush comp, the Winston, Diva, Sombra, that you know that one. Now we'll have to look at that one. I think Myers after getting a nerf or is getting a nerf. I'm not too sure if that's in yet or there's something with Myers, so we'll evaluate that again. If she's absolutely dog shy, something might change, or we might ignore that comp, or we might sub with someone in and out. But overall, they're the comps that we're going to focus on a bit more. We're going to learn them. We're going to learn how to play against them. Like each one of these comps will work against this. It's just we have to know the changes that need to be made to them or how to play against them. So the first one with Brawl. When you were playing this comp, you would run Brawl and that's good and all, but you would split off. And someone might play separate, which you can't do against this team. You have to play as close together as possible because that means your Diva can nullify the Pharah spam damage. And because you're all together, even if a few do get in, the shield's blocking our Diva's eating it. Ball can't slam someone at the back to separate them, or Tracer can't try to challenge someone at the back who's separated, so on, so on. The double bubble comp, you're switching up your Diva, you're switching into the Mercy, so now you're switching up to where if that Pharah doesn't get as much value because your Echo's challenging them with the Diva, which is something you'll have to work on the whole time in scrims if you're coming up against this. It won't be good at the start, and none of this stuff might work at the start. It'll take a while for it to work, but eventually it'll get better. Like this is where you are at the minute. You'll try these new things against this comp or against any comp. It'll always go downwards, but then you'll see as you get better at it, it'll even out, and then you're just going to improve each time, and then you'll go up like that. That's the way it'll always be. So don't expect miracles like at all this at the start. It'll take a while before you can get into the run of things. And again, the double bubble, like we said, you're running the Diva, the Mercy. You could run the Sombra. Sombra's a nice pick instead of the Tracer. You could run the Echo Mercy. If you're not running the Echo Mercy, you can run the Fire was another option with the Mercy, or you can run the Tracer and you can run the Sombra together. So you're running this amount of more dive, so you can go more aggressive on their back line. Diva can just keep the Fire in check while you're diving, stuff like that.
What would you
So
go? What would I go then if we go Summer Tracer?
to be honest, if you're going Summer Tracer, we could probably go to Mercy still, or we can go the Brig. And you just stay the Brig, and your sole purpose is to try protect Anna as much as possible. You're not worried about. You're just trying to stop the ball slam, kind of stuff like that. It might seem like you're doing nothing, but you're trying to keep the Anna up as long as possible, and that's if you're running that comp.
Yeah.
But
fair.
And see, or even if you're running that Tracer, if you're running that Tracer Sombra, more than likely, what now? Sorry, think about it. We'll probably run Mercy Zen. I mean, you will be pocketing the Zen. Okay. And then we will be putting out damage, putting discords, and every one of your teammates will be hard diving whoever the discords are on, stuff like that. Okay, but that stuff will work on in your next. When's your next scrim?
Sunday, but we will not have G.
That's all right. We're scrimming ourselves, and you scrim Mondays, don't you?
Not really. There was only one time because G missed so many, but we scrim the same days as you, practically. So Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday.
Okay. Right, I'll think about that after.
Sure.
Because I wouldn't mind getting to one of your scrims. Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't mind switching up a day for the scrims, but we would have to talk about it with the whole team.
Yeah, yeah.
However.
You talk about that after.
Mhm.
So that's just the whole idea of switching comps. Um, but you now know if a team runs out on the stuff like this, which will be you'll kind of see that more and more. Zarya, Brig are just a no.
Mhm.
Okay, we're going to cut the Brig out completely. If we're going into Tracers, then I think we'll go with the Mercy anyway,
Okay.
and we'll
Yeah.
go with the Zen. I think ourselves. Um, but we'll get used to it. We'll run it. We'll see if it works. If it doesn't work, we might see how it doesn't work, and we'll change it up. But it's going to be trial and error because this is a new comp. Teams are only starting to run this now,
Mhm.
and you'll see it more and more often. A team ran it against us in our last scrim, and instead of running the Diva, I went to Hog, and all I did was I sat with Diana because their Tracer now played really fucking scared because there's that hook potential and there's also the right clicks. Ball couldn't play as aggressive because I'd hook him out of the way, so on, so on, and I could I could just take a shitload of spam from Farah as well because I had my heal and stuff. So Hog, we found it, and we got a lot of really good value against this combo, 100 to 0 of them. Based on the fact that we were just able to keep Anna up, and then we ran the Sombra, the Pharmercy of our own, and Ball. So that was kind of the adaptation we made. But make sure that if you are making changes, you know what your roles are, and that's something we talked about the last day. You should know what your job is and all that. So if you switch up the Echo, you switch up to the Mercy, you switch up this the Trace for a Sombra or your whatever comp you're running, make sure that you know what your job is and everybody else knows what your job is against this comp. So make sure, like I said, if you're on the Diva, make sure Diva knows that she's going to be diving the far with you or pressuring the far when you're going for that far jewel. Um, Stuff like that. That's hugely important. So we'll just you can have a look at how they play. Just the rest of this. Okay, so that fight was lost. I think he pretty much sat on this comp. I'm not too worried about how it's played out because it was just comp diffs. Yeah, that was just comp diffs. We went through comp changes there. Where are we? A lot of time you like running the rush, I think, on this.
Mhm.
So you run your rush comp. So you're running your Winston Diva, your uh, Sombra, Reaper, your Lucio, and your Myra.
Yeah.
Um, do you run the Echo here?
I don't think we did. I think we swapped to Summer Reaper if I remember correctly. Yeah.
Okay, so to be honest, against when you know a team is running this, don't run the Reaper. I think straight up, it's just never going to get huge value, like because you've got Farah spamming you from above. You've got ball looking, and that's great. You'll hack the ball, keep the ball in check, but there's very little that the Reaper will be able to do. I think you're better off running the Trace or Sombra against this comp.
Yeah, I think we
Run the
called to
Trace or
swap
some, yeah,
like first fight I think, but yeah, maybe we
and
need
that's
to
good.
predict that a bit
hmm
more.
And it's super important when you are doing your rush, when you are doing all this stuff. Um, Diva, you're keeping the fire in check, just by eating a bit of spam while you're doing your rotations, stuff like that. Um, if you can get a hack onto the fire, even better. But more than likely, you're going to be hacking the ball or you're going to be hacking the Diva. They're your hack targets, so you can rush them down or whatever. But make sure in this comp, and this is one thing actually, just I meant to say to you, I didn't think about it till now, is I want you shock target calling Raptor.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, on you when you're running this somber comp, you're the target caller. Main reason is there's no point Winston calling to dive someone if you're not in position. Only you will know when you're ready to hack someone. And everybody should be only diving who you hack.
Yeah.
Diva will be focusing maybe a few other things. Maybe she'll be looking at people on an off angle or a tracer from behind, just keeping them in check or a Farah. But you'll know against what they're comp. So when you dive someone, Hayes, you'll be looking just for the Animate or something. You'll be just keeping the Farah spam in check, stuff like that. Um, just keep that an eye on that Hayes when you're doing it. So let's play this one out. But you kind of know this. So going forward, when you're running the Sombra, so you are the target caller. Is will be fight planning in between fights. But you're target calling, you're scouting, you're relaying information, you're telling them what you're going to do, and who you're going to hack.
Yeah.
So one thing you're doing here, and it is kind of strange, is you kind of just sit here. Okay, I know you have the mega health pack hacked, but when you're running this comp, and if you end up running this against this, like their frontal damage is non-existent. But you're just sitting back instead of speeding onto their diva or speeding onto their Ana. You kind of just sit around the mega health pack. Like it's great, you got the mega health pack, but you don't play around it when you're running against a comp like this. As far as shitting on you in this one position, and you're kind of just sitting there looking at it. Reaper's getting zero value from here. He gets no value because they're just sitting out of range. Remember, Reaper only gets value when he's up in people's face. Like Ball is gone behind, that's grand, but ignore him. Just go off, get hacking the diva, or else go for Diana. But do not get caught standing in one place, especially against this comp, because you'll get zero value. Like you'll get no value, and that's kind of what you do here. Like you eventually, like you move forward, but like it's really slow. If that makes sense. It's like it's too slow. Anna just literally walked away from it. Right, so when the fight's won and the Pharah's still alive, she becomes your prioritized target to kill. Um, like you can see, the longer the fight goes on, she stays up, the more value she gets. She get picks, all that sort of stuff. And like you might think, oh, we still won the fight, but she has daggers, and she's still alive and Ball's back now. So make sure when you win the fight that you do focus her down. And she's a nice here. If you can get a hack in her, call the hacker, and diver, because like she's there like win condition a lot of the time. As far as comms, remember fight planning in between fights, what ults you are going to use. And one thing I really want you to start doing, I can't stress this enough, when you are fight planning, you need to, when you call out your ults, their ults, I mean, this has to start playing a factor in your comms. Like when they have ults, you need to start planning around what they're going to use as well. Okay. So say for the next scrim, I'd like you to say for tomorrow, I would like you to focus in between every single fight, call out what ults they're going to use, and fight plan around what ults they have instead of what ults you have. Okay, just for the next tomorrow's scrim, just to get used to having their ults play a factor in it. Because it's not really playing a factor in how you play. You're fight planning around your own ults, which is grand, but you're not fight planning around the ults that they have. Like they could have an ult, they could have Barrage Day, for instance, and you could have Bomb, but you might want to hold on to mech the Eat Barrage or whatever. You might want to hold on to a different ult or so on, so on. So tomorrow, I would like you to focus more on planning your fights around this comp.
Mm-hmm.
To be fair, sorry, I
No, go
thought
ahead,
you
go
were
ahead.
finished. Well, just to be fair, Hayes is often calling that he doesn't want to ult since they have May ult or Pharah
Oh yeah,
ult.
no, and I'll talk to Hayes. He was telling me yesterday he had a Kings Row game and their May held on to hold for 2 minutes, and he
Yep.
didn't want to bomb, which is look, that's 100% fine. In theory, a good May will never hold on to hold that long.
Yeah.
Like May hold on to hold for 2 minutes. It's fucking criminal. And that's grand. That's 100%. Like Hayes has said, he'll do that, and that's perfect. If you're holding on to, if you're only going to use bomb as like a remake or whatever, that's 100%. But it's down to your old tracking then. So if they don't have May and you say have like you're on the brawl and you have bomb shatter on, you can use your bomb shatter. It's a good combo. You just get good at using it, and you're pretty Hayes and G are good at using that combo. And bomb isn't this massive ult. Like that you're going to that you have to use. Like it's grand to hold it as a remake. It's 100% fine. And if they do have ults, if they do have grab, if they do have May, if you're going to hold that, if you're going to hold your mech or whatever for it, that's 100% fine. Like once if she's not ulting off or you get the on it, that's perfect. Otherwise, the likes of bomb, if they do have May ult, you can use bomb to send it off. So they can't play super aggressive stuff like that or to follow up on the mailed. Like you can hold it for that either. But like that stuff is planning around their ult. So like you said, they have mailed. He's not going to use mech, or he's not going to use bomb, or he might use bomb just in case mailed gets off, so that he can stop them playing aggro on it. But it has to play a factor. That type of thinking has to play into all of their ults. So as a team tomorrow, the main one thing I would like you to start doing, like your number one thing, and this has to be something that you keep doing in between every single fight, is I want you to plan around what ults they have. Okay, that's like number one. That's what I want you to do is plan around what ults they have going into tomorrow's scrim. So their ults have to play a factor in how you play, where you position, how you rotate, what ults you use, how aggressive you play. As a Lucio, like say when you're playing Lucio,
Mm-hmm.
them having um them having mines or them having bomb will play a factor in how you play Lucio. It
Mm-hmm.
might means you will keep hold of your speed, so that when they use bomb, you can amp
Yeah.
up your speed, you can speed boost, and people can get away from it. 1 second. Sorry, I just got called there.
That's okay.
Yeah, so number one, that's your one thing for tomorrow. I might give you just three things tomorrow to focus on, and that is number one. Okay, so as far as ult planning goes, I want you to plan. Not like you can obviously, if you can do it as well, plan your own ults, but I want you to focus on what ults they have and how it'll play a factor into your next fight, and I want you to focus that every between every single fight. Okay. Also, on a side note, one thing you tend to do is you're like you're talking in between games, talking in between rounds. Tomorrow, before each, um, say before each map starts. So, for instance, when you're waiting for the doors to open, I want you to talk about what comp they could run and how you're going to take the first fight. Okay, so just throw out ideas. Okay, they might run this comp. If they're running this comp, what are we going to do? Okay.
Win.
Okay, yeah, that's definitely one way of doing it.
Yes.
But like before this fight, you knew this team ran this comp. So coming up before you walked out the doors, you should have had planned right. They're going to run this comp, and if they don't run that comp, that's 100%. But at least you're pre-planning what they might do.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you could plan like if they run this comp on this map, right? So they ran this last map. So say, okay, I'm going to restart just because I'm after confusing myself there. So say coming into this map, there's one comp that they could run that a lot of teams run, and that's the Somber Rush. Okay, but there's also the fact that this team have already run this comp that they're running now, so they might run that as well. So there's two comps now that you're pretty confident that they're going to run. So I want you to pre-plan your first fight for both those comps. So say every map will have comps a team run. King's Row, you kind of know teams are going to run out and brawl on King's Row. Okay, so you can pre-plan what's going to happen. Okay, and they might run a Hanzo or whatever, but you want to pre-plan what you're going to do before the fight starts. If they don't run out in if they don't run out and brawl in King's Row, they might have been running they might run a comp like this the whole way through, so they might run that comp as well. So pre-plan it, or they might have been running a different comp, or they might have been one trick in a Sombra. Like some teams might only play Sombra on them. So like there should be
Good
two
math.
comps that a team might run per map. It should be the common one that every team runs, or one that ye might run on it yourselves. You might think, oh, they're going to run it, or comps that they've been running a lot. So a team might be only playing double bubble. So you might be in your head, right, on King's Row, they could run out and brawl. So what are we going to do? But they also could run out and double bubble. So what if we do if they do that? So having your heads a kind of a pre-fight plan of what's happening. Like other maps
Mm-hmm.
like Gibraltar, team could run out and double bubble, or they could run out and dive. There's two comps that they can run out on, and you will have pre-fight plans on what they're going to do in your heads. Okay, so I want you to kind of start doing that more and more instead of
Mm-hmm.
talking a lot of stuff like so obviously having a bit of crack and stuff like that. But it's super important that you have pre-fight planned before every time, and even if you know what to do, it's nice to refresh it in your head right before the map starts as well. Okay, so that's super important. And we'll actually, fuck it, we'll put that down as number 2.
Okay.
Okay, so number 1 tomorrow, I want you to plan fights around enemy odds. Plan fight around enemy. Okay, I'm just gonna do this because I can't be arsed fucking writing it out.
Yeah, sure.
Number 2 is pre-map plans or whatever we'll call it. You know what I was talking about, though. All right, so pre-map plan. Okay, so talk through what you're going to do in the first fight. All right, like say, and I'm going to say King's Row again, just because everybody's coming with. You're running on attack, and you're coming out the door. You're thinking, right, this team's running brawl. They're going to hold maybe behind statue or on the point. What are we going to do? Well, we're going to scout with Diva, and then we're going to rotate right around statue. And we're going to regroup when we get around statue, let our cooldowns come up again, and then we're going to maybe wall the Rhine or whatever. But going out what your pre-fight plan is. And like on King's Row, you're thinking, well, that's what we do every time because it's like we're used to it now. But it's nice to refresh that in your head just in case someone gets distracted or does something else just out of just not thinking. So it cuts that out. The third thing is if you're running, I would like to comms, which is this third one. So I'm writing comms. Okay, so on comms, I want you to focus if you're running the Sombra. Okay, Raptor, you are the only one target calling.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, the only one target calling because you're hacking. Everybody's going after the hacks. If you're running the brawl, and this is one thing I wanted to bring up. So our target callers and our comps are Sombra, and I apologize if I spelled something wrong. I'm dyslexic, and my spelling is literally like a 5-year-old.
That's fine.
If you're running brawl, I want our May to start target calling. Okay, our Ryan can call rotations, but it's handy when a May is on the team. I'd like the May. Is May EI? Yeah, I think it is.
Yeah,
Yeah, it looks right.
it is correct.
Oh,
I want.
concerning May,
Hmm.
just a quick thing that I talked
Yeah,
about with Mike and that we tried out last scrim,
yeah.
and that is me playing more the flex DPS part.
Okay,
Yeah,
perfect. Yeah.
we wanted to talk about to the whole team. It's not necessarily important for now, but I'm gonna be looking for hit scan instead of flex DPS, and Raptor will.
And you know what you could do? You could just look for another flex DPS, and then between you and the DPS, you'll be able to decide what heroes you're comfortable playing and
Yeah.
what heroes you're best at.
Well,
So instead of you being solely put on the hit scan, maybe you're like you could have a really good tracer, um, a really good Echo or whatever, a really good Cree, but they might have a really good soldier, really good whatever and whatever. So you kind of be able to whatever you play your like you'll know your best heroes, and then you'll be able to work it out yourselves and get the best value if you wanted to do it that way either.
yeah.
Instead
So
Uh-huh.
of
I'd
like
love to do that, but there's no flex DPS out there.
instead it'll be hard to get
It's
flex DPS
fucking
because at the
shit.
minute,
So
especially with Brawl, a
yeah,
lot of people don't want to be stuck onto me.
yeah. So
That's
it's
just the way it
easier to
is.
get a hit scan.
Dude,
So
I love
that's why.
May.
Oh, I do as well. I think she's great, and Corrupted loves May, but there's most flex players do not like playing May.
Yeah.
Um, they're like a lot of Genji players there. So because Genji, like that's kind of like what you'll see Genji players, all these. So and because they're not getting played, you won't see them enough. And then hit scan, everybody plays hit scan. So
Mhm.
that's why, and especially with
Yeah.
Korean and Ash and all that. So it's very
Mhm.
hard.
It is.
And now that this comp is coming more in, you'll see a lot more of them popping up now that Farah gets to be played more.
Mm.
You'll see a lot more popping up.
Yeah.
So
I'll
yeah.
see what I'll get
Mhm.
for tryouts. Like we already have a couple that may or may not be good. We have to talk as a team about it, but uh, I'll just see what we can
Perfect.
get.
So in Rush, in this kind of variant, the variant of double bub we talked about, if you're on the Sombra, Sombra is your shot caller, your target caller. Okay, your target calling, you're telling your team when you're ready to engage, all that sort of stuff. When you're running brawl with the May, I want you to come as well. Your targets. The reason being is you're the person who's going to be using wall to split their team. You're going to be freezing people, stuff like that. So you can come, the target. You're going like there's no point in the Rhine swinging on someone if you're freezing someone else. Everybody should be turning
Oh,
their attention to whoever you're freezing. So I'd like you to calm on the target call on me. And look, it mightn't work at the start. And that's all right if it doesn't work. We'll try it again. And if it keeps us on working, okay, that's a test that we tried. But if it failed, and we'll move on. and we might change it up and see what works. But if we're going to get our comms up to scratch, there's going to be a lot of trial and error. Okay, that's just the way it's going to be, and the comms have to be fixed, and this is how we do it. So Sombra, main target color, then May if you're running Brawl without a May, maybe running like a Torb Cree or something. If they're running a double bubble comp, you might switch to May for a Torb, 100%, because then Torb keeps the Tracer in check and so on, whatever, and it's good against Winston. So you could run the Torb. So if that's the case, we might maybe put the Ryan and target color, or we might put the Diva on it. Okay, we might put someone else on it, but until we see it, or until you do that variant, we won't pick who's target calling. But if you're running basic brawl, I want May to target call. That's the big thing. If we are running the double bubble without the Sombra, if we're running like the Echo Tracer, I'd like Winston to target call just for the first time. Winston, I'm gonna go with that one. Okay, so we have Winston here. If it doesn't work and if G feels like it's not working, we'll switch it up to the Tracer.
Sure.
Okay, but that's down to yourselves. And again, it's trial and error. If we don't find a double bubbles working and the coordinates between the monkey and tracers are working, well then we might switch to the tracer common. Okay. So, but tomorrow when we're running the comps, and tomorrow the only 3 comps I want you to run if you are running it is Brawl, and then each obviously depending so the 3 comps I want you running is Brawl, and you might have to make a few changes depending on what they're running. That's 100%. Like you have to switch out to May because May mightn't get value against a lot of comps. She definitely won't get value a lot of time against this comp. So you might want to run something else like a Torb or a fucking whatever if you find it's not getting value. Yeah, I want you. So that's the Brawl is one comp you're going to be running. I want you to run double bubble. So you start off normal double bubble with the usual, but your change ups are like Mercy, Diva. You could switch out someone for a Sombra. You might stuff like that. You'll make your changes knowing what they're going to run. If you're playing a map like say Dorado, because I watched over your Dorado, Diva works a lot better on a Dorado because you can dive to high grounds, and Zarya gets it very hard, and you'll know that. So they're kind of changes you'll make them, and Rush. Rush is the other one I'd like you to run, and again you'll do the same. You'll make the changes depending. But they're the 3 comps I want you running.
Sure.
Tomorrow, and we'll work on those 3 comps going forward. Okay, so you have 3 comps that you're going to run tomorrow, and like if a comp, like it's all about fine tuning this stuff as well. So it's going to be very rough at the start, and you'll run these comps, and there'll be a lot of mistakes. You might think, oh, we're not getting value with this comp or whatever, but when we fine tune it, you'll get more value out of it. So we're going to be sticking with those 3 comps, and the switches we'll make as well. So there are 3 comps you're going to run. These are the 3 say plan. This is our plan for the scrim tomorrow to focus on these 3 things. It's the plan to fight against around the enemy's ult. That has to be done in between every single fight. And if you have to keep reminding Hayes to do it, or if maybe someone else wants to step up and do it, that's all right. But you'll know that. And Hayes, if you get to watch over this tomorrow, that's your pre-fight plan focus. And then everybody has to go through with it. It's super important. Hayes can't be telling people that this is and telling you when to ult or telling you what to do the whole time. Once he does the pre-fight plan, yeah, it's up to you then to do it. And even if the pre-fight plan could be a bad plan, but at least he all went through with it, so that eventually when his plans get better and better and better, you're going through with it because you've been practicing going through with it. Your second point is your pre-map plan. So in every start of every map, especially on control maps, because control map the first fight is super important because you build up an ult advantage. You'll always get over 30% easily on control if you lose the second fight because of so on and stuff. And then third one is comps, and that's mainly target calls. So Sombra, May, Winston, so on, okay? But Sombra is a big change, and so is May is a big change to your comps. And we'll see how it works. I'll get Hayes to stream it so I can watch over the comps. Just a few more things before we stop because there's a bit of information there, and I kind of want this stuff to be fresh. So 3 comps, 3 plans. Yeah, so we'll skip through. Yeah, I'm not too worried now about this because there's a bit of a comp diffs and you're running against their comp. So I'm going to leave the game here, and I want to show you the Oasis. There's a few things. You did well on this map. You ran the comp yourself, which is grand. few mistakes, but that's all right. But where is this? Right. So this is an example where, okay, so you ran this brawl comp, and if you're running brawl tomorrow, I do not want this. So if people are watching this, this can't happen on brawl. Right. Okay. So brawl be brawl is grand. You all know kind of how to play this. Cree can play a bit of a off angle stuff like that. Diva can if she wants as well. Stuff like that. But against comps like this, you have to stay as a brawl. Okay, you have to stay like this. You can't have this shit going on. Okay, like different heroes split up. It's just one ball. You have to be tight together. Okay, but look how this plays out. Okay, Meep, if you're watching this, you threw this fight. Okay, you're doing grand. This cannot happen. Your BAP cannot do that. Okay, your Iron Diva's gone off here, but you're still kind of caught behind. And you might think, oh, it's not that much. Against the likes of this comp, that is a big distance. Because Farah can hit spam into this choke. And once you get tagged on Kree, you're kind of on BAP, if you get tagged here, you don't really want to peek again. And because you're not with the group, you don't get as much cover. But you can see here, me, I don't know what the fuck you were going for here. But your team got left. Like, this is fucking plat. That's plat. Okay. Then because of all of that, after we ended up getting caught out. But no matter what happens, you must always uh, stay as this one tight group. No matter where the rotation is, no matter what you're doing, make sure you're all together. So it's up to your Ryan also to check that he's not going too far off and leaving you behind. It's up for you, Mike, as well, when you're speeding the team around, make sure that you're getting everybody in it. But if you do come across a comp like this and you're running Brawl, which this Brawl is all right against this comp if you're running together. If you stick together, okay, you get a bit more value. But when you're split, you're actually playing into their hand. So I don't want to see this. Okay, this can't happen.
Yeah.
All right. That I just wanted to point this out because you'd seen it here, and against this comp, it was nice to see it, and because now you can see firsthand what went wrong. You split up. You cannot split up, okay? Because if we've Diva, Ryan, and May playing here, we have Bap playing here, and Kree and Lucio playing here. It's grand, but Kree. It's so hard to expect Kree to put shots on the Farah because if he gets tapped, he's hiding then and can't peek because the Farah is spamming the angle that he's at. But Diva's gone off here with the Ryan, so she can't matrix the Farah spam from him. Whereas if you're all in this one group and you're all in this ball, Diva can now nullify that Farah damage and it's not hitting any of you. And she can only do so much, only so much, but by that time you would have rotated onto someone and can engage or whatever. But it's super important that you don't split up. You have to stay as close together as possible. No matter where you're running to or your rotation, stuff like that, stay as tight together as possible. And then the last thing I would like to show you is just talk about is if you're running the Farah. I didn't actually count when you're running the Farah Raptor. Every time you're using your boost into the air, you should be wanting to rocket boost, whether it's off a little roof up in the air, but you need to rocket jump that boost because you nearly go twice as high. And Farah's all about height. But on this map, I didn't actually count. And that just might be just a habit, or I might even been paying attention because there was a clusterfuck going on. But as much as possible, use the rocket jump. Hugely important because your accuracy on Farah is fucking unreal. You absolutely like their Farah would be always higher than you, but somehow you'd still always win the Farah duel. Like 90% of the time, you win the Farah duels. Like it's fucking insane. Like whereas now we managing that height because if the higher you get up, the easier it is to control Farah's height. And like some maps have shit height boxes and stuff like that. But Oasis is a map with two maps with really good fucking height box or whatever.
It does also make it easier for me to fly with you.
Yeah. So even if like I'll just show you because your accuracy on fire is fucking nuts.
Yeah, I'm not rocket jumping, you know.
Yeah, and like you'll see how much value we get. I think we're running here. Yeah, it's super important. Like you kind of carried, you carried hard on fire when you're on it. Like just actually alone. Okay, that's about we won't talk about that. But even now we'll see. Look, you
Yeah.
You use your flight and then you just boost it up, and that's grand. But if you kind of flew up onto this, then rocket jumped up, you'd be a lot higher. You can maintain your height,
Mm-hmm.
and then when you lose it, you can rocket jump off of something like this or a ledge like this to put you up even higher. Stuff like that is hugely important because now a diva can't actually press you at all. Farah is lower than you, and it's much easier to shoot down at another Farah, which is why I was so shocked that you're actually dominating this other Farah who was above you, because it's a lot harder to aim up and shoot at someone as Farah. So that's just a small thing. I said it because your Farah is really good. Um,
Thank you.
that's
Thank
just the
you.
one thing. But yeah, but that's all we're going to talk about in this bot review because I don't want to overload you with a load of stuff. I just kind of wanted you to set up, just to have a look at what they're running, ideas and how to play against their comp to some
Mhm.
extent, and like what comps not to run or when to change up. But you have your plan for tomorrow. So your 3 steps. I'll go over one last time. Your first step is planning your fights between every single fight. You're planning around what else they have and how you're going to play the next fight into it.
Mhm.
Okay, and I
Mm-hmm.
want you to follow through with it, no matter what the plan is. The plan could be fucking jump off the map, just
Mhm.
fucking follow whatever he says. Super important. Okay, even if you're losing, the fight plans will get better over time, but they can't get better if we're not following through with them because we don't know that they're actually working or they're not working. We will only know that some fight plans are working if you all follow through with them and they fail. But if he fight plans and two of you do it or three of you do it and it doesn't work, well, we don't know for sure that it wouldn't work because only three of you did it. Or if it did work,
Yeah.
you still don't know if it was a good fight plan because it could have been a fluke or something else going to happen. But super important that you all follow through. The second one is pre-map plans, and you might think this isn't even in the fight. It is hugely important. Have an idea. Pick 2 comps that they could run. The comp that like maybe the comp that is always running that map, like the ones you might be running or whatever, or in their case, this team have been one tricking a comp. So that could be your second one. And if it like there could be one trick in a comp like this, and you'd be like, right, they could run this comp either. And then plan your first fight around it, what you're going to do, and then just go through with it, follow through with it, as much as possible. Um, and then third one is comps. So we switch up. Sombra is our main shot caller, target calling, and who engage like calling when you're engaging dives and stuff like that. And May, I don't see on the brawl when you're on the May for May to be the target caller. She's the one freezing, she's the one using the wall, all that sort of stuff. And then if May dies, it switches to the Rhine. Okay. And then the 3 comps you're running is brawl, double bubble, and um,
Rush.
rush. And brawl switches will like you could run like you have your standard brawl which is Cree May, then you have the Hanzo variant with Hanzo May which is really fucking good. Which probably I actually would like to see you running that one a bit more than the Cree because
Mhm.
especially this round when Ryan's getting shit on by arrows, it's so hard to get value from the other team to get value. Or you could run the Doom May, or the Sim May. It just depends. These are the different variants, or even fucking Torb Cree or Torb Hanzo with the brawl, or even Torb May, stuff like that. They're different variants of the brawl, but that's stuff that you'll do. And like you might Doom May is good against like the team might run Sim May. Doom's really good against that type of comp because he can disrupt the team, he can punch, and you can look for May Doom fist punch, those type of combos. Like he May wall behind the team or whatever, and Doom punches into the May wall and could hit someone and like it's an insta kill or whatever, stuff like that. Or the Sim one's really good, and you ran it on Hanamura on one of them, and it was I'll go through stuff like that in a different VOD review, but Sim Brawl is really good to close the gap, like with double shield for rotations and stuff like that, and that's another really good comp. Then we have our double bubble. So if you're the normal double bubble that you run is the Winston, Zarya, Echo, Tracer, Brig, Anna. That's your standard double bubble. Okay. The changes that you would make would be to the Diva, the Zarya to the Diva, and the Brig to the May. Brig to
Mercy.
the what? Brig to the fucking Mercy.
Yeah, yeah,
Jesus
yeah.
Christ. Um, and like when we make those changes, if a team is running a comp like this, you could change the Zarya for a Diva. On the Rado, all the high ground, you might change the Zarya to a Diva. Um, and you might think there's all these different things that could change it. Mercy, you could pick the Mercy if you're going the Echo. The Mercy plus pockets the Echo. If you're running double bubble, you might change the Echo for a Sombra, and you might run Sombra. So you might run the Zarya, Winston, Sombra, Tracer, Brig. Okay, there's another variant of the double bubble. And you might think, what does so say in a map you could run that on could be Gibraltar. and Dallas Fuel did this, and I was obsessed with this comp. I thought this was so fucking good. And why they ran this comp on defense was so they had the normal people on high ground. Anna was on blue boxes, or would rotate to the back of Pint. Brig was playing with Brig was actually playing with the Anna, but playing more on the high ground ahead of blue boxes because she would interrupt Monkey's jump early. So when he would try jump up, she would interrupt it there, so he couldn't even get close to the Anna. She would sit there. They ran the Zarya because there's double bubble and the Monkey as well. But the Sombra Tracer coordination was so good. Tracer contested the cart. That's the only person who contested the cart. And she never needed to worry about going back for heals because the health packs, the Mega under the bridge under Gibraltar was hacked, and the Mini under Blue Boxes was hacked, and Server Room Mega was hacked. So all Tracer did was work between those three health packs when she needed healing. And the other Tracer couldn't challenge her because you can't challenge a Tracer who's playing around health packs that are hacked. Okay, and then the Sombra would just play up on the high ground and hack the likes of the Monkey or hack the whoever dove up or just play for damage. And it worked really well. So that's another variant of the disc comp that you can make on the sly. And there we'll go through all of them and they'll be trialed and tested and all that sort of stuff and we'll fine tune them all. And then the third comp that you run is Rush. And you're pretty good at that one, but again it's important you stick together. And when you're running that comp, our Sombra is the shot caller, stuff like that.
Yeah.
All right, so you have you're pretty okay now. I didn't go through much stuff as far as how to completely hard play against that comp or how to play your comps and stuff like that. I just kind of want you to start off with focusing on those three things I gave you and start off to playing those three comps. And in the scrim tomorrow, just when you are picking a comp, at the start, like if you are making a change, just say why you're making it. That's all I want you to say is why you're making it. Make sure there's a actual reason why there's a change to the standard or comp that you would run. So if you are running, if you're changing the Cree for Hanzo, just say why are you changing. So that there is a reason for it, and you're not just doing it for the sake of doing it, or you just think, oh, I just want to switch to this hero because this other hero isn't working for me. So you want to switch someone to a Sombra. I want to hack the ball. I want to deny the ball. All that sort of stuff. So just say in your comms, we're running double bubble, but instead of this area, we're running Diva, and we're doing this because that way I can judge what your understanding of the comp, and there is actually a purpose to it. You're not just doing it for the sake of it. Okay.
Yeah.
Right, so that's your plan for tomorrow, for your comp, and yeah, that's really it.
Yeah, fair.
Any questions?